Mr. Levine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't accept the proposition that a woman's right to make her reproductive choices in New York State is not in danger, that it's not under threat, for a couple of reasons. First, that same statement was made not long ago in Colorado, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Texas, and other states. If the state legislatures won't stand up for the rights of their citizens, New York will join that list. Secondly, we have had a rare opportunity today to listen to the words that have been spoken, not against this bill, but against a woman's right to make her own reproductive choices. Because the arguments advanced against this particular bill had nothing to do with Roe versus Wade. They had everything to do with suppressing the rights of our New York women. Now, words have meaning. And I say, because I listened to what was said here today, that unless I am unable to hear and unless I am unable to grasp the meaning of words said here today, that indeed a woman's right is in danger here, because if those who espouse these anti-women philosophies control, as they do in other states, we will join those other states. Now, I'm not ungodly. I don't think I am. I don't believe, I never have believed in pagan sacrifice. And I'm not a rat scurrying about, and I'm not in favor of death. But I am in favor of reality. So let me share this with you. I'm a little older than some of you here. The first young woman, the first girl I knew who became pregnant, and again, I grew up far from here in a very economically disadvantaged area. She would have gotten pregnant in either 6th or 7th grade. And I will share this with you. In 6th and 7th grade, I didn't even know how babies were made. I had no clue. But I would guarantee that the young woman I knew at age 11 or 12, who delivered at 12 or 13, she didn't know either. That's reality. I will not go back to that reality. Some here would like to go back to that reality. We will not stand by. We will not stand idly by for laws that, in effect, beyond in effect, in reality, give us forcible pregnancy, compulsory pregnancy and childbirth, obligatory pregnancy and childbirth, mandatory pregnancy and childbirth, and involuntary pregnancy and childbirth. Not in the state of New York. I will be voting in the affirmative.
Ms. Lipton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Mr. DiPietro rise for a question?
Mr. DiPietro?
Yes, sure would.
Mr. DiPietro will yield.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I could just observe, it seems to me that a lot of this discussion has been very abstract. We're talking about sort of people in general, and you cataloged kind of a happy circumstances of normal births that many people here can relate to, many New Yorkers perhaps watching can relate to. And we're fortunate when things are happy and normal. But they're not always happy and normal in pregnancy, as my colleague has already pointed out. So I'd just like to point out, and some people have said there's no problem in New York, everything's great. We don't need to worry about protecting the health of the mother and making sure that our state conforms to Roe v. Wade. So if I could just ask you, in a real circumstance in New York, perhaps you're not aware of this, but if I could just quickly outline something that really happened. And there are many cases, but I'll start with one. We have a young couple. They're happy, professional couple. They're in their 30s, having their first child. They're ecstatic, looking forward to the birth of their first child. Third trimester comes. They go for their appointment with their OBGYN. and back comes very bad news. The doctor says the fetus has had a severe cerebral hemorrhage, tremendous loss of blood, a severe stroke in utero. This child, you can give birth, you can have a baby, but this baby will never walk, never talk, never sit up, never feed themselves, never feed him or herself. This child will spend whatever life he or she has, perhaps a brief life, in a bed in a skilled nursing facility, needing constant care to stay alive. This happened in New York not very long ago, and I would ask you, Mr. DiPietro, this is someone you know, this is a family member, let's say. What do you say? What would you want to happen with that couple who very much wanted to have the happy circumstances, the normal child development that you spoke about in your comments? What would you like to see, and what would you say to that couple?
I would first off tell you someone, I know a person personally whose pregnancy was diagnosed with Down syndrome, and they said that their baby might not make it in the pregnancy, that it was going to be real tough, and that when the baby was born, just what you're saying, that the baby probably would never walk, never talk. The baby, they decided to have it, the baby was born 100% healthy. It was misdiagnosed. The doctors had all the information, and they thought it was going to be what you had said, a very tough thing. And I know these people personally, and their baby's very healthy.
So
Plus,
you
I
would
also
say,
go to,
so you would
I
say
also,
to that couple?
I also know that I've gone, and just last week I've gone to a number of schools, outreaches, different housing, where I've been with every kind of disabled, mentally challenged baby, physically challenged, and I can tell you right now, I don't know one parent that I've met that said they would have aborted their baby, even though it's caused them a very tough life raising it. The baby was born, and a lot of them knew ahead of time, some of them knew ahead of time that their baby was going to have difficulties, and they still had it, and not one of them would have aborted it.
So, Mr. DiPietro, you would take your set of moral beliefs or the beliefs that other people have shared with you and say, these are the beliefs that everyone, this is the moral decision that every New Yorker must accept, that given what, and this wasn't a Down syndrome, many Down syndrome children grow to be adults and have remarkably active and happy lives. And can live a long time. This was not a Down syndrome diagnosis. This was a severe cerebral hemorrhage, a stroke in utero. So you would say, I'm sorry, but my view of things, my idea is that you must continue with this pregnancy and give birth to this baby.
My personal view, okay?
No, your view for all, we're talking about making New York State law here. So I'm not talking about your decision for your family. I'm talking about whether you would take your moral beliefs, your moral and religious beliefs, and say, your neighbor down the street who had this circumstance must abide by your religious beliefs in this matter.
No, I don't say they have to abide by my religious beliefs. My religious beliefs are my core. And when it comes, we're talking about this bill, I don't even know why this bill is really up here, because New York State, when I hear people talk about women's access is prohibited and all. Well, New York State's the #1 abortion capital. They all, like I was just heard, they all come to New York State. So imagine that. So this isn't another state where it might be more restrictive. This is abortion on demand. You don't have to tell your parents. This is New York State.
You're enlarging this discussion, but you agree that you would not want to take your moral
I
and
am
religious
against abortion.
and
I am
say
against
that
abortion.
everyone has to
If
live
you're
by those
asking me,
that
I am
same
against
set of
abortion.
beliefs.
If you're asking me, I am against abortion.
But that wasn't the question. I understand you're against abortion, but you did say you would not impose your religious and moral judgment about that situation on someone else.
No, I would.
And that's all we're asking for in this legislation. Do I have time for another question? Where are we?
You still, you
Let me
you
give you
have the
another
floor, Ms.
instance.
Lufton.
Again, someone else said there's no problem in New York State. Let me give you a second case. that happened in the last
I'm not
few
saying there's no problem, Ms. Lifton. I'm saying
Okay, someone
it's the easiest access in the country.
I'm saying someone else did. And of course, as someone else pointed out, we've made access, some states have made access so difficult. We see it happening in Texas now, shutting down something like 3/4 of the abortion clinics in Texas. So yes, young women are coming to New York for abortions because they're that desperate to have control over their own lives. A second instance, Mr. DiPietro, in New York State again, to illustrate a real problem with real people's lives, we have an 11-year-old child, 11-year-old girl. Someone finds out, I don't know whether it was a teacher or a nurse, a neighbor, someone, perhaps another family member, finds out the little girl is pregnant, 11 years old. Everyone should try to think about an 11-year-old child that they know, someone in their family, a little girl in their family, a 5th grader, perhaps a 6th grader, the kid next door, the kid down the street. And she's already into the 3rd trimester of pregnancy, if you can believe that. She's at 28 weeks. They judge 27, 28 weeks. She has been raped. She is a victim of incest. Father, uncle, brother, not sure who. She is pregnant. There we are. We have an 11-year-old who's in her 3rd trimester. This is a New York child, just recently, within the last few years. What shall we do, Mr. DiPietro? What do you want to tell that 11-year-old child about continuing that pregnancy to term, carrying a baby to term and giving birth?
I'm going to say 2 wrongs don't make a right. I don't think murdering a baby is the answer to the standard. And you might not like it, Mrs. Lifton, and I understand with that little smirk. That's fine. I understand it. But my belief is that I'm against abortion. And I'll stand here and I'll put my hand on this Bible and say it because that's my belief. I'm not asking everyone here to make that belief. But I'm telling you what I would do, but that's not my making a law, and that's not me putting it into place.
I hear you.
But I'm going to tell you that I've counseled women who have aborted their baby. And you know, because you're a smart woman, that probably 60% of women or more, or 80 or whatever it is, when they abort a baby, you know what? They have remorse for the rest of their life because they think about what that child would have been like on its 10th birthday, on its 18th birthday, when it went to high school. So I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not going to have 2 wrongs make a right, and that's my stance. So if you're trying to make a point of it, go right ahead, because I can take it. I'm a big guy. I've taken so many hits from the pro-choice crowd, it isn't even funny.
I think we read different sources of information. All the women that I've spoken to are very happy to have the right to control their own bodies, much relieved that they had the right to
And the ones I've spoken to are the exact opposite. They have remorse for the rest of their life over what they've done.
So again,
I know we like to go back and forth, but it's very hard for this debate to be conducted if that's how we go at each other.
I just enjoy answering the question. So
But you
that's
agree
okay.
with me,
I'm
right?
fine with
Mr. DiPietro, you agree with me,
it.
right?
I agree with you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Again, I'd like to just say, Mr. DiPietro, that I appreciate your saying that, again, you would not impose your beliefs on someone else about these really personal, really critical health matters for New York women. And if I could, on the bill, Mr.
On the bill, Mr.
Yes,
Lipton.
yes. So again, I come from the district from which Connie Cook was one of my predecessors. She would have been sitting on the other side of the aisle where she's still here. And she led the fight for reproductive rights in New York State. She was the leader. She went all over the state speaking about this issue and trying to make our current law. In fact, I met with her daughter a couple years back, and I knew Connie Cook. She died a few years ago. But her daughter told me that her mother, in fact, supported the position that we're arguing for today, that it should be both the life and health of the mother that is protected. And Assemblywoman Cook led this battle, not because she was sitting in a room by herself one day or reading, sitting with her own religious beliefs or thinking, but because the leaders in her community, in my community, came to her, the men in the community, the ministers, the doctors, the undertakers came to her saying, we have many young women that are dying from abortions, from self-induced abortions, and you must do something about this very serious problem. Mrs. Cook, please help change New York State's law. And she went to work fighting for that I am proud to continue representing this seat, and I will be voting in the affirmative for this bill, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Lipton. Mr. Rivera.
Having heard a couple of back and forth, having heard someone throw numbers by the thousands, is scary in itself. But throwing numbers to scare people without giving us additional information, what is any one of us really trying to do here? If not to incite, one way or another, everyone that's watching us on TV. There is enough of that going across this nation. We're being incited. So we don't have to wait for any convention to riot. It could take place on any given moment in this society of ours. But when I hear this debate every year, I say, Koch. Hey, Koch, are you looking down? You know why I say Ed Koch? Because he's up there with God too. And when this issue came up before his administration, he didn't have all the information as to why women chose to do what they did. He simply said, listen, if you don't like women, whatever they're doing, if you want them to have an unwanted child or wanted for whatever the reason, he said to the Catholic Church and all the churches, open the doors, feed the homeless, raise them. That's what Ed Koch said. You don't believe me? Look it up. It happened in the 70s. Now, somebody else said that they're concerned that, I think I heard correctly, that this state has become the capital, the abortion capital of the state of New York. Maybe because in the 70s, white women were able to afford $39, get on a plane, go to Puerto Rico, do whatever they had to do, but poor working women were not able to go there. They had to go to a basement and do whatever they had to do on unsanitary condition. There were a crisis in those days. For whatever the reason, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, that woman chose not to have a child. But remember what we went through in the city of New York. I remember. That was a crisis. So New York was never the capital, it was Puerto Rico. Now go a step further. Does anybody care that there was a program paid by our government, not the state of New York, promoted sterilizing women by the thousands in Puerto Rico? They had no choice. They were sterilized. Look it up. The sterilization program of the 70s. Women did not know. They wanted to have a child. They had no choice. Somebody made the decision for them. Someone in government made the decision for them. So what are we talking about? It's also called population control. Our government, federal government, went into Africa to control the growth of population. They had a sterilization program. I'm sure you hear about this in other countries. So here we are again today. This is simple. It's simple. I'm not going to tell anyone, suggest either way what they should do. It's up to them and their conscience. But for heaven's sakes, let's not preach too much of what anyone should do, because we've been there one way or another. And when I talk about Puerto Rico, let me tell you what's happening right now. There's a bill in the federal government. Puerto Rico is bankrupt. Puerto Rico is bankrupt. Nobody's going to have health services. But worse, that bill says, in order for us to help you, your minimum wage got to come down to $4 an hour, maybe less. How can any woman raise their family on $4 an hour when we're here, we're fighting for $15 an hour, and we're not going to be able to afford the Bill de Blasio affordable housing plan because $15 an hour it's $30,000 a year. Well, Bill de Blasio, in order for you to qualify for the apartment, you got to make $31,000. Take into consideration all this economic situation that we, all of us, somehow are responsible for. So, I thank all of you for paying close attention to me, and I didn't come across sounding hysterical, throwing too many figures or too many numbers to you. No offense meant to anyone who might have been so uptight and so angry and so concerned about what women is doing with their own bodies. Thank you very much.
Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I understand in my absence, somebody lost their mind. So I just want to say to all of the black people watching this, this is the height of hypocrisy, because people who mention abortions about black women in the black community, they don't give a hoot about black life. So now, all of a sudden, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Oh, they love our babies. They love our women now. This is the height of hypocrisy, racist hypocrisy. And we need to call it for what it is. We want to see now how these same people who love us and concerned about our unborn babies, let's see how they act toward our babies who leave the womb alive. Let's see how many policies they support for black babies and poverty, black women in poverty. Let's see how consistent they're concerned about genocide. Oh, you concerned about genocide? I can't wait for my reparations bill.
Mr. Speaker,
Ms. Corwin.
thank you. You know, I've had it.
No.
I really have.
Do I have
Can
to?
I just, may I? I have a point of order here.
You stop me from
She's
talking?
on a, yes, she can.
Yes, I
She
can.
rises, she's a minority, she can raise a point of order.
Yes, my point of order
The
here
time is not going
is
away.
I think on several occasions we have asked that we stay to the bill. I'm not sure where this has to do with the bill.
Is she finished?
Well, Ms. Corwin, the issue that the speaker is talking on was raised in former debate. And so it would be unfair of us to say he cannot comment on the issue that was raised in the debate.
At this point, I think it's beyond the sense of fairness. I think this is about, like, everyone catching their breath. I don't think anyone in this room is thinking reasonably right now. I'll tell you, I'm feeling a little hot under the collar myself. Can we just at least take a few minutes to just catch a breath? I'm not saying that no one should be allowed to speak. I'm not taking one side or another. I'm just saying, let's just take a breath and collect ourselves here. We are better than this. And this will go on forever. There's 150 of us in this room. We could go on all night like this, and what is accomplished? Can we please just take a moment and catch a breath and collect our thoughts?
And now, Mr. Morelli.
I would simply suggest, and I recognize the emotions here, but as I said earlier, I really would urge people not to cast aspersions on the motivations of the various members and what they've said, recognizing that some very hurtful things have been said here. But if we could really try to limit our conversation to the bill in chief before the House, and I would assume Mr. Barron will do that, as others will as well. So I just want to remind the members that to try to limit it to the bill before the House and not go to the motivations of others.
Well, first of all, I would hope that my colleague from the Republican Party would also rise up when her members say some outrageous things and not think that only when we respond to some of the outrageousness that's raised that now she rises for everybody to come to some civility. Don't be conveniently civil. Be civil consistently, or sit down and let us finish saying what we got to say. So,
Members,
as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, we in the black community should not allow around this issue for us to be manipulated by hypocrites who now want to talk about the value of a black life unborn.
Mr. Graff, why do you rise?
Mr. Speaker, I mean, he was just admonished not to sit there and call out members or try to discredit members on the floor. If he has something to say about the bill, let him speak about the bill. If he just wants to sit here and malign other members, I would suggest he sit out.
Well,
Mr. Speaker,
proceed, Mr. Barron.
Mr. Speaker, I will proceed to speak about the bill. And if you don't like what I'm saying about the bill as it relates to black people, I suggest you shut up. Because we have a right to say what we want to say in this body, whether you like it or not. So as I was talking about the bill for people of African ancestry to be in this body and have people try to manipulate our community. Matter of fact, when I go to our community, sometimes I see these horrible pictures of abortions in the black community of black children being aborted by right-wingers who could care less about the black community and just want to manipulate us and have this condescending lecture for black leaders telling us why we should be against genocide. Well, if you feel that way, we want to see some consistency up in here, but not only for the unborn, but for those who are already born. And when we come up with legislation, we'd like to see that kind of consistency. Women have a right to make this decision. Women have a right to make this decision.
Mr. Castorino, why do you rise?
I rise because, unfortunately, Mr. Barron indicated earlier that he was absent. He wasn't here. So he didn't get to hear the portion of what I had to say, which was that we need to make sure that we have resources in the community, in the African-American communities, in all minority communities, to make sure that women can make the right decision so that they can bring children up and have the resources available to them.
So, Mr. Castorino, thank you for clarifying your position. Mr. Barrett, proceed.
First of all, I don't believe my colleagues would lie. I believe my colleagues accurately told me what was said because I heard it consistently all across this room. Nor do I believe this was some innocent concern about black babies. I think it was political manipulation, and I think that political manipulation for the lives of black babies shouldn't be done up in this chambers. You stick to the issue and stop trying to manipulate the black community into thinking that if our women have a right to choose what they want to do with their bodies, that you are now talking about some kind of genocide, as though it was excluded just to our community. So what about whites? What about Asians? What about Latinos? What about all the women that make this decision?
Mr. Castorino, you rise for?
I was just addressed by Mr. Barron, and I just want to make...
I don't yield my time, and I didn't mention his name.
I want to make the point. There have
I didn't
been...
yield my time.
Then you have to yield
No.
if you want to make a point.
15.5 million...
Mr. Castorino,
I'm not yielding.
you have to rise to ask him to yield as they were asking you.
Right.
Thank you.
And I don't care what figures they throw out. I don't know where they got them from, and I don't care what figures they're throwing out. It is the spirit in which it's being delivered. And this is nothing but manipulation.
Mr. Walter, why do you rise?
Would Mr. Barron yield for a question?
No.
Mr. Barron doesn't yield.
Anybody else want to rise? Because it's no. Whoever else rises.
Please
So let's
proceed,
get through
Mr.
this.
Barron. On the bill, Mr. Barron, not to the members.
On the bill, for the black community, just like every other community,
Mr. McLaughlin, why do you rise?
Mr. Barron, yield.
No.
Mr. Barron,
Just like every other community, the black women has a right to choose. And we should stick with that, and it's insulting. It's insulting, and I believe racist, to try to manipulate information in our communities around this very, very tough question. This is a tough question for all of us. Whether you determine when life is born and how, when, and if to abort it, that's a tough question. So don't bring no foolishness to a very intellectual discussion. We don't need foolishness or ignorant attempts for trying to manipulate the black community. It's insulting, extremely insulting, and it angers many of us. And I'm not the one who's going to die from an ulcer. Something's going to kill me, but it won't be an ulcer.
Mr. Gant,
You're
why
going
do
to
you
know
rise?
how I feel.
Mr. Barron, would you yield for a question?
Mr. Barron, will you yield for Mr. Gant?
Mr. Barron, I heard these same comments that I've heard from people here tonight. And we did a study back in my hometown, that little country town, Rochester. And what we found out was what the comments were made earlier about black women and black kids and abortions. We found out that white women in Greece had the same amount of abortions that black women did. So I don't know where this information came from, as you said, but I know when we did a study, they were even. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Gann. I
Proceed.
appreciate that information. In closing, I think we should support this legislation because women have a right to make those decisions. We should not accept any racist comments. We should not accept any manipulation singling out a single race of people, and we should not be fooled by hypocrisy. Thank you.
Ms.
Yes.
Hooper, why do you rise?
I would like to just take this moment to ask my
Yes.
distinguished colleague if you would be kind enough, not just for my interest, would you expound upon what you refer to as genocide, the genocide of the Native American, the genocide of my ancestors who were ripped from my families, wherein I don't even know who my relatives are. The genocide of peoples around the world who are the victims of genocide, usually from Europeans. Would you expound upon that for my clarification and those of us here, because you do it so well? Thank you.
Well, thank you to my colleague, but just to say that I think most people know genocide is a systematic destruction of a people, and I don't want to expound on it too much. 'Cause it was
Mr.
so
McLaughlin, why do you rise?
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, point of order. Again, is this bill have anything to do with genocide at all, in any way?
He could just say.
The member was asked to yield and asked the question. He's answering it.
So, but he's on the bill. That has nothing to do with the bill. We've been
Right.
repeatedly admonished to stay on the bill.
Yeah,
Stay
but
on the
Mr.
bill.
But Mr. Speaker, keep your little condescending remarks to yourself.
What's condescending?
When
Stay
somebody,
on
when
the
your
bill.
person mentions
Stay
genocide,
on the bill.
Mr.
you
McLaughlin.
Rules of the House.
Tell him to do that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Barron, as you were concluding,
Yes,
please
I
do.
was concluding. When opposition raises stuff, and then when you come back at them, they can't handle it. So all of a sudden now, all of these terms we're using that they brought up, they don't want it to be a part of the discussion. Then don't mention it. Leave it out of this discussion. So I'm concluding, respect me. I'm concluding, be quiet. I'm concluding by saying this bill needs to be supported, and we should not allow any disrespect for the black community, and particularly not the black women in this chamber.
Mr. Goodell. Oh, he's missing. Ms. Castorino for a second. Mr. Castorino?
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to withdraw my request in the interest of brevity and moving this debate along. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.